Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wills, Women, and Wealth podcast. I'm Elsa W. Smith, your Maryland estate planning and probate attorney, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. We're here to empower women who value their health, wealth, and the legacies they're creating. This podcast delves into a diverse range of subjects encompassing finance, law, mental and physical health, and beyond. Our commitment is to furnish you with invaluable insights, engaging expert interviews, and enlightening episodes that address your questions on wills, estate planning, and probate matters. Remember, this is your community, and we want to hear from you. Engage with us, ask questions, suggest topics. Let's build a dialogue. Reach out to us on social media or leave us a comment below. Your input fuels the conversations we have. You can find all of our episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for our upcoming content. We appreciate your support, and if you enjoy the podcast, please consider leaving us a 5-star review. Your review helps amplify our reach and brings our content to more listeners. And now, on with the podcast. Welcome, everyone. Today, my guest is Morgan Wider. Morgan Wider is an executive presence strategist, professional speaker, and image consultant who transforms how leaders maximize their impact through authentically appropriate professional presence. Blending her Georgetown economics education with a decade of corporate strategy experience at retail giants like Gap and Carter's, Morgan is also the creator of the Identity Impact Index, a personal branding assessment that helps leaders align their visual communication with their leadership goals. Her best-selling book, The Worthy Wardrobe, explores the intersection of personal style and inherent worthiness, helping professionals be seen in their full professional brilliance. Morgan, welcome to the Wills, Women, and Wealth podcast. So nice to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be a fun conversation.
I agree. Let's get to it because we have a lot to cover.
We do.
So, Morgan, what drew you to this work?
I have a mother who is incredibly stylish. I spent my childhood rebelling from that. I was a tomboy, the only Black girl in my school. I was the tallest, the curviest, didn't want the attention. Grew up with a father that said, you have to be smart, and valued that over being pretty. And I really hid myself behind my schoolwork and my performance in corporate America, thinking that my image didn't matter, much to my mother's dismay. And it finally turned into your mother as you age. And I actually realized, my mom was right, that there is this critical component of how I'm being perceived and how I'm showing up. And let me help other women unpack this, because as someone who didn't grow up, quote unquote, loving clothes and wanting the attention, I have been there and can help guide my clients and audiences through that transformation.
Wonderful. When you say, as I've heard you say in talks that you've done, you say worth comes before wardrobe. What does that actually change for a client?
It starts with knowing that you're worthy of being seen. And even in my own story, I didn't think that I was worthy of being seen. I thought my work was, or my intelligence was, but not me, the human being. And the idea of this book came when I had a client who had left corporate America, raised her 2 babies, was going back to interview for roles, and I was pulling all of this fabulous stuff. She had an incredible shape, and she hated everything. And I kept thinking, like, what is going on? Like, I'm really good at this. And I kept questioning myself. And I remember seeing her reflection in the mirror, and I said, she doesn't like who she is right now. She doesn't even know who she is. This is not about the clothes. She needs to know that she, the woman, not the mom, not the stay-at-home mom, but she, the woman's worthy of being seen. And then that helped me realize I need women all over to start with that starting point of I am inherently worthy. I'm worthy of being seen. I'm worthy of new clothes. I'm worthy of love and attention. And then the clothes just match that. I'm very faith-based, and one of my beloved pastors used to always say, so as within, so without. So how we believe about ourselves shows up in all areas of our life, including our closet.
Amen to all of that. And what patterns are you consistently seeing in the women you're serving right now?
I think there's two camps of women that I work with. And I'll say I work with all gender identities, but speaking for women, it's often a more nuanced environment. The women that I work with are in two camps. The first camp is I'm not comfortable with attention. I got a new job, or I'm recently divorced, and I have to quote unquote get visible and put myself back out there. Show me how to do that. And there's some of that internal work and external work that we work on. And then the other camp of women that I work with are, I know my image matters. I don't either have the time or the brain capacity to figure out this wardrobe. Morgan helped me do that. And so we're cleaning out the closets. We're doing rent the runways or things like that for high visibility things. I'm doing online shopping, or we're coming together and shopping. So all of it is about knowing that visibility is important. Sometimes it just takes a little bit more inner work to get us there first.
A lot of what you're describing shows up as like identity decision making. And in my work with estate planning, people don't struggle necessarily with the documents. They struggle with the decisions tied to identity and change.
Totally. Who do I think I am, right? Like the beliefs about myself then impact how we behave, what we put in our wills, if we even do our estate planning.
Absolutely. So let's talk about what we're talking about, wardrobe as self-worth. Now, what does a woman's closet tend to reflect about how she sees herself?
I'm so thankful that hundreds, maybe even thousands of women around the world, honestly, have let me into their closets, either virtually or in person. A couple of telltale signs. The women who have everything designer, or like tons of designer bags that are on display but never getting carried, that is a sign for me that you're looking for status, that you're looking for external validation. It's one thing to buy them and wear them, but it's another thing to consume and not use, because you're consuming to say that I've made it, but then I'm a little worried about being perceived. Who am I, right? Like that I'm still trying to prove myself and earn that. The closets that I've seen, oh my gosh, there was a closet where a woman's husband's golf clubs are in there, all of the file tax documents, their kids' clothes. Like, it was just a mess. And it was very clear that she wasn't putting herself first. Everyone else came before her, and her closet was just the kind of the dumping ground for everybody else's things. Another telltale sign for me is a woman's undergarments. I've seen a lot of bodies like an OBGYN in fitting rooms, and if a woman's bras are really worn down or shapeless, that tells me she doesn't believe she's worthy of support. Like our most feminine
Wait
part.
a minute. Wow. Ladies, if you're listening, I hope that you're listening to this, and better yet, I hope that you replay this over and over again, because this is getting deep for us. This is getting real personal. When you start talking about our clothes, especially our intimate apparel, you're going into places where most people do not go.
No, I don't go. And again, I'm so thankful that I am allowed in the most intimate places of a woman, like her closet, how she's dressing her body. And undergarments tell me a lot, tell me a whole lot. If you don't think you're worthy of support, if you don't think that you're worthy, or if you're holding on to the past, if you are wearing the same bra that you wore 2 babies before, your body's different, right? Like, you're holding on to things that you have not acknowledged that change is happening, and that this new person is worthy of literal support and help here.
Wow. So Morgan, where do you see that women get stuck? Is it the confidence? Is it execution? Or is it something deeper, in your opinion?
There's so many areas, common pitfalls, but I will go back also to your point about identity. A lot of times, for especially professional successful women, they are dressing for someone else's version of professionalism or someone
Mm,
else's expectations, like what they think they should wear, or what a lawyer should look like. So I'm often helping to weed through, like, how do you want to be seen? How can you determine your personal brand? Because that standing out is what's going to help your business. So a lot of this in my work is giving women permission to be themselves, giving them permission to show up in what they love to wear, giving them permission to let go of the old sizes that don't fit them, giving themselves permission to invest in their wardrobe. There's a lot of identity and I should look like this, or I shouldn't do this, or I can't do this, that we're often unpacking.
mm. And what does knowing what to wear usually signal to you?
What do you mean by that question?
I'm sorry, what no, I should say not knowing what to wear. What does that signal to you when a woman says, I don't know what
I
to
think
wear?
it's not clear on your identity. So the assessment that I've created is one of those
Mhm.
first starting points of getting clear on what your personality is and then who your audience is, because that is very important. We can dress as authentically as we want to, but if we're not matching the need of our clients, our team, the decision makers who determine our success, that's very important. Another common pitfall that I have with some of my clients is decision overwhelm. And that comes from a closet that is chock full, and I know I'm standing in a full closet, but these clothes get worn, I promise. But people who are buying and buying because they're not clear on what they like, and they see an Instagram post and they click buy and it arrives and they don't know what to do with it. So sometimes it is overwhelm. And how can we sparse through and really get clear on what works for you?
You just reminded me again of something that I see like in my world in estate planning. I'm seeing people postponing decisions and until those decisions like force them to confront
Mm-hmm.
that they are in a current season of their life, whether it's they just got married, so new family, whether they just welcomed a new child, whether by birth or adoption, or they purchased a new property, or there's been a loss. Those are very pivotal points
Absolutely.
in a person's
Absolutely.
life. And sometimes I see that reluctance to move forward until something tragic happens and then the light goes off. I think I need to get my own estate planning documents done
Right.
because I just attended a funeral. So I see that. So you get that nudge. So let's now talk about identity shifts and letting go. Tell me about a client who struggled to, and I've heard you talk about this also in your talks, the client who struggled to let go of her suits after
Yes.
after her identity shifted, excuse me.
I'm so glad you segued into this, because I see a lot of not clinical hoarding, but a lot of holding on to our wardrobe is the signpost of who we are. And the story that I write about in my book, and a story I'll never forget, is a client, Mrs. Rose, whose daughters had hired me after her retirement. She had retired from being a career-long high school principal. Her life had changed. She was now a lady of leisure and going to her social events during the day. And she had 4 closets worth of suits, and every suit had its own matching shoes and all, like, it was an impeccable collection of suits. And she was doing okay until the last closet, and there was this beige suit, and I was like, we don't need this. And I put it in the bag, and she grabbed it, and we were literally going on a tug of war. And I was like, you have to let this go. And she said, I can't. And it dawned on her, we are getting rid of a 30-year career of being a principal. If I'm not a principal anymore, who am I? These suits are what I wore every day to this high school. What does my life look like now? Who am I? What is the identity? And then what is the wardrobe that I now need to match this new identity, this new season? Being willing to transition is incredibly hard. And our wardrobe holds those memories, it holds those day-to-day habits in us. And it's a constant reinvention for all of us of what feels good for me right now. Who am I right now? And is this matching my life and how I want to be seen?
Why do you shared, and that's such an impactful story that I'm sure resonates. It's going to resonate with a lot of the audience. Why do you think letting go is so hard?
Oh, man, I know
And I'm sighing because I
it's so
personally, I'm
hard.
full disclosure, I find it hard to, I have to be so intentional about getting rid of the clothes that no longer suit me, the things that, as other experts have said, that don't bring me joy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
And there is a definition of clutter that is postponed decisions. Like you mentioned earlier with estate planning, we are holding on to things sometimes out of, and I write about this in the book, out of holding on to the past and then fear of what the future might be. Like, what if I need this in the future? And then that goes to a sense of lack because I tell people, like, if you could buy a beige suit once, you're probably going to be able to buy a beige suit again when you need it. And it's the one that's going to fit your current size, fit your current lifestyle. Another hot area for me when I'm cleaning out the closet are t-shirts, like family reunion t-shirts,
Oh
college
God.
t-shirts, it's so silly but those are those signposts of I've done something, I ran the 5K or I've done this, and before you know it, I have literally seen walls full of t-shirts. I'm like, that's what Facebook's for, that's what Instagram is for, that's what the picture is for. But it's really hard to shift and move into the future because the future is unknown. The past is what's familiar for us, and that is human nature to hold on to what's familiar.
Isn't it though? Now let's talk about body changes. We alluded to it in different points in our conversation earlier, but how are body changes affecting how women relate to their wardrobe?
Oh my gosh. It's so loaded. It is our, especially as women, right? Like our bodies are observed in ways that men aren't. We're perceived and valued based on our bodies in a way that other gender identities aren't. And a woman's body oftentimes is harder to control through hormones, perimenopause, pregnancy. All of those life instances have an impact on our bodies. And again, our clothes that we're using to cover our clothes can be used to honor the season that we're in and honor the shape that we're in, or it can be used to camouflage and hide and deflect, push this part of us away. There's a story, I have tons of stories, but a woman who was holding on to jeans from high school, and she was 40 and had 2 teenagers. And I said, even if you do lose the weight to fit back into those jeans, do you as a 42-year-old very successful real estate agent want to be wearing the jeans that a 16-year-old in 1980 or 1990 was wearing? We were often so caught on the size and what size I am, but not what season we're in. And that's really important to make that distinction.
Yeah. Why do people keep clothing that no longer fits them? Why do you think that they do? You've acknowledged that it is an issue, but at its core, like why?
Some use it as a motivator. They think it will be a motivator to, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to work out because I want to get back into those jeans. I think that is one of the biggest reasons I find is like the someday or the one day we hold on to that without realizing that the one day is here. Like we're only promised the present. And if that someday never comes, then what? Then are you always going to wake up and walk into a closet? And I've done it. I write about this in the book. I did that. I walked into a closet that made me feel awful and felt like reminded me of a life that I no longer lived. And it did me no good. So I think holding on to the idea of someday is probably the biggest reason why people hold on to things that no longer serve them.
Another thing that I wanted to ask you about was, and we talked about this during our pre-show prep, is executive presence. We hear about that all the time. How do you define executive presence?
I define presence as 2 things: being present to who you truly are, your story, your identity, your intention. What are you there to do? What do you bring to the table that nobody else does? And then being present to your audience. What are they expecting? What do they need from you? How can you meet their need in a way that no one else can? Usually executive presence is being defined as proximity to whiteness and maleness. And I am hoping to change that narrative of when you are acutely aware of your strengths, your magic, and your weaknesses, you're able to show up in a way that will match whatever your client needs, your team, your boss, anyone who has an influence on your success, meet their need in a way that no one else
can. authenticity, because we hear a lot about that too, and the importance. And I am a big proponent of being your authentic self wherever you show up. Can authenticity and appropriateness coexist
They
without
have to.
conflict?
They have to. They have to. And in my proprietary tools I've created, they are equally weighted. Because if you are only focused on appropriateness, then you lose yourself. You are meeting the needs of everyone else without any awareness of who you are, what you like, what your voice is, what your gifts are. And if you are only or majority focused on authenticity, well, I'm just going to be me, this is how I've always been, then you alienate yourself from your audience. And so those finding that balance of who I am, what are my non-negotiables in life, but also in wardrobe, your hair choices. I've had clients say my tattoos are non-negotiable. For me, it's my natural hair. For some, it's your nails. What are the things that inherently are you? And then how do we make sure that everything else matches what the audience needs? And that's your secret sauce of how you show up, how you're remembered, how you build your personal brand.
And this came to me just now. This wasn't on one of the points I was going to ask you about, but because so many of the women who watch this podcast are women of color, as are we, can you speak to, and I'm sighing as I ask the question, but just the struggle of, as it deals with hair and the things that we wear, and mainly hair, because it's always the hair is like the biggest thing. Okay, looking presentable for an interview. Yeah. And what does that mean if you have beautifully, naturally curly hair, you straighten it, and why, and all the things that that we struggle with, but also allowing space for the fact that we are dynamic. We can wear our hair in a variety of ways, and all of them be acceptable, be professional. That's the word I was looking for.
Yes.
So could you speak to that?
Oh my gosh. Nothing changes culturally or in society unless we change, unless we make the choice. There's, I don't want to say no point, but if you get the seat at the table and you have whitewashed yourself so much that you don't even show up as your full authentic self, then what good does that do? That just means that you are a browner version of what was already there. And I want to tell this story because this story always gets me. I was at a networking event for lawyers. I met this woman named Jamila. She had these gorgeous dreadlocks. And I said, oh my gosh, your dreadlocks are absolutely stunning. And she told me the story. The week before I had met her, she was at the Houston airport. And she was her firm. She's a partner at a law firm in Houston. She was getting ready to go somewhere else. She was sitting at the gate, and this young man and this older woman kept staring at her at the gate. And she said, Morgan, I did the obligatory hi, Black person, head nod. And they kept staring at her. And they finally walked over to her. And the young man said, are you Jamila Mensah? And of course, she got a little freaked out because how does this man know me? And she said, yes, I am. And the young man took out a picture from his phone and he said, my little sister started at your law firm and she's told us all about you. The picture was the young woman who had dreadlocks, just like Jamila. And it was that moment, and I get tears in my eyes every time I tell that story because it is so important that your choices of how you show up are bigger than you. Jamila told me when she started on the partner track, of course they told her to cut her dreadlocks. Of course they said to be more professional. Of course they said to look the part. But that young woman felt like she could join that firm because she saw someone who looked like her and then went home and told her family about it.
Wow.
Like our choices of how we show up are bigger than us. And especially as Black women. And I know that it is hard. I know that we are told not to, but it only changes when we start wearing our dreadlocks, right? When we start showing up unapologetically ourselves, and it gives other people permission, the younger women, to do the same thing.
Yeah. So by our actions, we are changing the narrative.
Absolutely. Without saying a word, right? Without saying a word. And again, it's not at the expense of professionalism.
Right.
Who you are can absolutely be going hand in hand with professionals. And that is where I preach, especially to young students, being authentic, but also appropriate. Those two things do not have to be mutually exclusive.
And my next question is, and you've touched on this before, but I just want to be more direct with it. What do women underestimate about how appearance affects opportunity?
Oh, it's because I was that person, right? I will say this. They can't hear your message if you look a mess. They can't.
Ooh,
And I think we underestimate the human brain is wired to make snap judgments within 7 seconds of meeting or seeing someone. And 60% of those snap judgments come from visual cues and wardrobe choices. Not how pretty you are, not the tone of your voice, not your race, but your wardrobe. So, what someone thinks about you and whether they want to get to know you, like you, trust you, do business with you, you have the majority of the control of majority of that perception based on how you show up and get dressed.
wow. Now I want to pivot and talk a little bit about consumerism and how do you help your clients distinguish between intention and influence?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. It's all of my work with clients. That first session is getting to know who you are. So you take the assessment and there's 6 style profiles that we'll talk about. If you are a romantic, if you're a rock star, if you're a minimalist, like what feels true for you and your audience. The second part is really diving deep on what your size is and what your shape is and what silhouettes work best for your shape. With that awareness of, does this feel like me and does this flatter me? Then our closets, we edit down anything that doesn't match those two things. And when you're shopping, it is intentional because it's not I'm buying it just because I like it or because I see someone else wearing it. It's because I know what's in my closet. I know what works for me. This is a smart addition to the closet and not just something that's going to sit there and I don't know how to wear it. Awareness of who you are, what you own, and what works for you are so critical before you click purchase.
You talked earlier in our conversation about the client who just had designer bags, designer clothes, just the impeccable closet. What should women understand about like luxury purchases and meaning?
I think right now in our culture, with the proliferation of dupes, you can get a quote unquote designer bag that's not really designer off Canal Street, right? Or not even, you don't even have to go to New York anymore. You can get it online. You can get fakes online. And I say that to say that if everybody is wearing the designer now, the luxury is trying to redefine itself of what that means, right? The exclusivity isn't as prominent as it used to be. And I say that to say, if you are looking to invest in quality, right? Invest in the well-made leather goods, invest in the thing that you will carry for years and years on end. Sometimes I have a client who bought a Birkin bag, and while it is a great investment because Birkins absolutely do, they accrue value over time. Once she got it, she didn't love it anymore. And so she resold it and ended up getting another Chanel bag, a vintage Chanel bag that she actually feels free to carry more. Like, it's buying designer for designer's sake isn't what's important. I want you to buy what you love, what is well made, and what you will carry, what you absolutely use and wear. And finding quality right now, unfortunately, is very hard. So you do sometimes have to pay a premium, whether it's leather goods, shoes, clothing, all of those things. But if it's just sitting in your closet, not getting worn, it is a stupid investment. But if you are buying it and you know you're going to wear that black suit or that black blazer, or in my case, a leopard blazer all of the time, it's a good investment.
Mm-hmm. So at its core, like this is decision clarity. In like in estate planning, the absence of that clarity creates certain outcomes. In consumer decisions, it creates impulse driven like identity expression. It's like I got to have the bag because as you alluded to earlier, it's a person searching for validation, maybe acceptance in certain circles, and I can't get accepted if I don't have X, the $5,000 bag, whatever.
And also, we're human, right? Like and as I mentioned, the human brain makes snap decisions based on things. So yes, wearing a luxury item does signify something to everyone else. I'm not denying that part of it.
Yeah.
I don't want that to become your whole identity, or every purchase decision that you make becomes based on they will think better of me because X, Y, and Z. And that's not healthy.
Yeah, no. Let's talk now about trust and client relationships. How do you earn access to such personal spaces in your line of work? Because you mentioned earlier that you're grateful that these women like trust you. But like going to certain specialists, certain doctors, it requires a certain level of trust because you're letting someone in to very intimate spaces. So how do you garner that trust?
Oh, I am so grateful and so thankful that women do trust me. I hope that the reason they can trust me is that they can see themselves in me, that I have been there, that I am going through the body changes. I have gone through the confidence things. I've gone through working in corporate America. I know my craft. I study it. I love learning about this and applying it to my clients and teaching them. A lot of my time with my clients is teaching. A client this morning texted me 2 different outfit options for what she's going to wear to a conference. Here's why this one works and this one doesn't. I want you to know the why so that you can repeat this and feel good about the decisions that you're making. Sharing that knowledge that I have is one of the most important things of what I do. All of my content is I want you to feel empowered to make the choices without me there. And some women say my voice is in their head and that they'll listen to the book or whatever. And that's great. And I hope that the voice in your head will help you make choices that feel good for you. And it's not about someone else's approval or me telling you, yes, I think this looks good, but there's some fundamentals again of does this align with your brand or the message you're trying to achieve? Is it flattering for your shape and your size? Does the fit look good? Those things, if I can train your eye to see it, then you will feel like you will trust yourself more. And that's the most important part.
And everybody, we've been talking about the book. I'm just going to put the title and our author on screen. Please get the book. I highly encourage it. Morgan, where can folks get the book?
They can get it on Amazon, is where most books are sold. They can find it there. There's the Kindle version, paperback version, and the Audible version. You can find the Audible version on Audible.
Awesome. Awesome. What are some takeaways, like 3 takeaways that you want this audience to have? Because I love talking with you because I respect your work. I respect what you do because it is so important. We as women, we're trying so hard. We're juggling so many things, and appearance and identity and all that is a part of it. And a lot of us struggle with that. We're trying to work hard and buy the house and gain the assets and all the things. And then when we come home at the end of the day, we're looking at ourselves in the mirror and sometimes we're just tired. And to go and knowing that you've got to get up the next morning and do it all again. And for some women, thinking about wardrobe is it's just too much. They're just grabbing what's available, what's easy. And we talked about, and I go back to my world in the legal profession, the conservative colors, black, blue, gray. Yeah. And the thought of showing up to a board meeting wearing one of my favorite colors was like a deep burgundy or a fuchsia. Oh my gosh. But it's not, obviously it's not that way everywhere, but it is a very conservative profession.
Absolutely.
So what are some takeaways you want, particularly the women? There are men listening too, but particularly the women to take away.
I think one, let's talk to the men for a second. This matters for you. It absolutely matters, just as important for you, learning your personal style, learning how you want to show up and how you communicate, and then being an advocate for the women in the room, right? Like not perpetuating the same standards of straight hair, here in Georgia, my lawyer clients never ceases to amaze me that some courtrooms, some judges don't let women wear pantsuits. So being an advocate in those ways is definitely important for non-female identifying people. For the ladies who are listening, my 3 takeaways for you are: 1, you're absolutely worthy of being seen. Sit and relish your worth. get back to whatever spiritual or therapeutic practices that you need to learn to love yourself and where you are right now. The second one is that your choices are bigger than you. Your
Mm.
daughters, your nieces, your mentees are watching how you treat your body, how you talk about your body, how you get dressed, which leads me to my next point of you're a worthy investment. Your wardrobe is worthy of investing in. Your really quick story, I had a client who went into her home. Husband had the whole closet of brand new Nikes, brand new shoes. Kids had brand new clothes in both of their closets. Her closet was at the bottom of her daughter's room. Everything was hand-me-downs, everything. She hadn't bought anything for herself. And I said, what are you teaching your son and your daughter about what you're worthy of and how a woman should be treated? So your choices are so much bigger than you and how you show up. And spending the time on yourself and in your wardrobe are not selfish. It is a active leadership and it's an active service to the women that are watching you all around.
That all of that resonates with me, and I love you, I appreciate you, I see you, I value and respect, like I said, the work that you do. And the word that came to mind as I heard you speak was legacy. And legacy is a huge word, obviously, in what I do in estate planning. But one of the things that I say on occasion is that you are creating your legacy every day, how you impact other people. For me personally, I think of my nieces, both strong, independent, beautiful women, but I also am cognizant of the fact that what I do directly or indirectly has an impact on
Absolutely.
them, how they see professional women. So too with how we show up, how we choose, again, in injecting intentionality into that, how
Yes,
we choose to show up, I would argue, is part of our legacy. What,
absolutely is.
yeah. Could you,
Absolutely
yeah,
is.
could you comment on that?
It is. I love that word of legacy. You nailed it, Elsa. That is what will people remember you by, whether you in that room today or when when you are long gone. Like, how will people remember you, and how you what you believe about yourself impacts everything. It impacts how you dress. It impacts how other people treat you and perceive you. The opportunities that you will get or not get all start from the belief that I'm worthy of them, that I love myself. That is the legacy. I have a daughter, and I am acutely even more aware now of how I show up each and every day, and how she overhears me talk about my body or how we spend mirror time and look at each other or look at myself, because that that legacy is so important and I'm so grateful that the younger generations have this confidence that I think a lot of us didn't have. The world is changing, and hopefully for the better in that case, and it is my job to help her maintain that confidence and not let anything dim that light, and that part of it is doing my part and showing up for myself.
Morgan, aside from working one-to-one with clients, you're also a speaker. We talked about your book. You're a published author. How can people contact you? And I'm going to put some information on the screen, but tell us in the various ways that people can connect with you.
Yes, there's the book. There's absolutely Instagram. There is one of my favorite parts of my business is speaking and workshop facilitation. I go into companies, colleges, universities, associations, and help people show up in a way that's authentically appropriate and give them the confidence and tools and build their personal brand, not just in wardrobe, but in communication and leadership style. So you can learn more about that at widercell.com. And then I love working with one-on-one clients, whether it's in person or virtually, doing closet work, shopping work, confidence work. For the folks listening here, I have given a special discount code for my virtual blueprint session. It's an hour session where you do a little bit of pre-work in advance. I review it. I Google you and see all of your digital footprint. And then that hour is spent in your closet getting clear on what are the gaps, how can you show up better, what's your personal brand building. And for you guys listening, with the code Elsa, you get 15% off. So you can go to widercell.com, look for the blueprint session, book it, type in Elsa and you will get a special discount to help you as the first step of getting clear on how do you want to be seen? How do you want to show up?
That is so gracious of you to offer that to the Wills Women and Wealth podcast audience. Thank you so much. You are such a blessing, Morgan. You really are. I love everything that you do. It's just been a joy speaking with you today. And yeah, I wish you the best of success, continued success, because women, we need you. We need what you have to teach, what you have to share, what you've experienced and want to convey to people that will get us where necessary on the path to healing, to increased self-esteem, self-worth, and hopefully that will have a ripple effect into all aspects of our lives. And you play a huge role in that. Do you have any final comments for the audience?
No, I've left. You're such a great interviewer. You've let me give all of my tips. Thank you. We've covered so much ground, and I honor you, Elsa, and the work that you are doing. And the word legacy will absolutely stay with me. And I so appreciate you sharing your platform with me and your women. And I'm so glad that we've reconnected since years ago, hearing me speak years ago. So thank you for sharing your platform with me.
You're so welcome. Everyone, Morgan Wider of Wider Style. You've heard the great tips, takeaways, and we've just had such a rich and meaningful conversation. I hope that you not only replay this podcast episode, but you share it with the women that are important in your life and the men too. We didn't leave the men out. So everyone, thanks so much for watching and joining us on this episode of the Wills, Women, and Wealth podcast. Remember, stay informed, stay empowered, and take control of your legacy. I'll see you next time.